and this is for F1. I almost said FU, but that'd be a different movie. FU to F1. Directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick. And it stars Brad Pitt. Which I like Brad Pitt. I like Brad Pitt in World War Z. I liked him in Ad Astra. I'm one of the few that like that film. Seven. Fight Club. Quite a few of the films. Your True Romance. And I thought I did a really good job here. And overall, I did like this film. I did like this film. I don't know if I say it's my favorite film of the year. I'll probably still put Magazine Dreams and Fight or Flight above it, but this was a pretty good film. The action, the race car sequences, I thought were very well done, very cinematic in scope. It was cool to see Javier Bardem as this guy who was an old friend of Brad Pitt, and he owns this F1 team. He was a former teammate of Brad Pitt back in the day, but now he owns his team and he needs Brad Pitt's help. Some of their banter between the two, I thought that was pretty fun. I thought the acting of the rookie Joshua, played by Damson Idris, he did fine. Was it a bit too long? Yes. I don't think the film needed to be over 2.5 hours long. Is it anything original? No. You have the older guy who has a past that things didn't work out the best, so now this is his second chance. He's about to help someone he knows, but also deal with this rookie who's arrogant, who's cocky. So the older veteran has to teach the younger one a few bits of humility and lessons. I mean, it's a sports film, and it's a racing film. With that kind of thing, you're only going to have a certain amount of things you could do with that story. They either win or they lose. Either it's like Rocky or it's like Rocky 2. You know, with racing, this is more Days of Thunder and less Driven. Which, I mean, that's really the way to describe this film. It's a much better version of Driven. Because, okay, tangent. I remember when that film came out. Sylvester Stallone in Driven. And I won't say hyped, but I was curious about it because I remember seeing the trailers. I'm like, oh, cool, Stallone is doing a racing movie, and you know, I quite like Days of Thunder, not just because it's got Bella Yellow in it. One of the few films to feature Bella Yellow, that and the first Sonic the Hedgehog. But I think it's a fun movie. Great score by Hans Zimmer. I think it's one of his best scores. I like Robert Duvall and what was Michael Rooker. Tom Cruise, I think, does a good job. Racing scene, you know, Tony Scott did a good job on the racing scenes. I'm like, Joseph Kosinski, do you want to be Tony Scott? Because it's like, hey, I did a Top Gun movie, now I gotta do a racing movie, just like Tony Scott did. What's this? You don't do a Last Boy Scout type of movie? Anyway. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh, Driven. No wonder I wanted to forget that shit. So I was looking forward to it because it's Stallone. I love Sylvester Stallone. And then I saw Driven. And I went, this film's a piece of shit. This film fucking sucks. I like Rennie Harlan. They work together on Cliffhanger. I love Cliffhanger. But this film fucking sucks. What the fuck happened? What is this shit? And that was Stallone as an older veteran. Things hadn't worked out the best. He comes back. He's helping out someone he knew, played by Burt Reynolds. You have this rookie who needs help. The veteran gets a little bit of a lovey-dovey stuff. Yeah, it does remind me a bit of Driven, the more I think about it. But this is a much better version of that story. And it's just like, oh, Stallone. I there's if I were asked 100 questions to Stallone, one of them would be like, "Have you seen F1? And do you wish your film Driven was like that movie, man?" Damn. But getting back to this, Brad Pitt's character Sonny, he lives like a nomad, and he'll once in a while get hired to do these random races. Like one is for Daytona, and you have the song "Whole Lot of Love" by Led Zeppelin playing. He's a racer for hire. So he does one lap and helps this team get in the lead. He even jokes, if you lose that lead, I'm going to kill you. And again, the technical aspects, the scope of the film, the racing scenes, what it tried to do is what like Top Gun Maverick was doing with the flying scenes, here to do with the racing scenes. And I do think they did a really good job. I've read that people who are into F1 racing, they don't like the film because they say there's a lot of errors and bullshit involved. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that world. I'm sure you know more than me, but I'm just saying it looked good. It looked good. It was energetic. One day Javier Bardem comes to meet him and says, I have an offer. Again, they used to be teammates. Throughout the film, you find out this backstory about Brad Pitt, that he was a guy who was doing well, but then he had this bad crash, and then he kind of couldn't be in F1 racing anymore. And Javier Bardem doesn't know, until much later, that technically Brad Pitt should never be racing again because of these injuries he had. But he doesn't tell Javier Bardem that. Javier has to find out later. But I like the banter they have throughout the film. I would say I liked Ford versus Ferrari more. And the banter between, was it Matt Damon and Christian Bale? Yeah, it was Matt Damon. I would say that film I probably liked a little bit more than this. Another, I mean, yeah, I guess you say this a racing film as well. So yeah, that one I did like more. But this I thought was pretty good too. And I like the banter between Matt Damon and Christian Bale more in that film, but here there's still some good chemistry there. I do like when he shows a picture and it's the two of them young, and he says, now, that guy there, what would he want to do? And Harvey there is pointing to a young Brad Pitt. And Brad looks at him and goes, join a boy band? I thought that was pretty funny. And then later when he's like, he's not sure, but eventually he does come, and then someone goes, who's that asshole? And then Harvey Bardem goes, he's with me. And let's say it goes through the tropes that you think of, and predictable, sure. There's the veteran who has his own ways of doing stuff, and people don't understand it yet. They don't quite get it yet. But if they just listen to what he says, he knows what he's doing. He does things his own old school ways. Again, you have the veteran, the rookie, who is thinking more of the fame and getting his picture taken, even if they're in 10th place or whatever place it was. They're not in 10th yet, but... And Brad Pitt's going, why are you smiling? Because at one point they get 10th. Why are you smiling? You're in 10th place. What do you think those other people feel? And you have that friction between the rookie and the veteran. Brad Pitt, the lady that helped build the cars for the F1 team. They did a bit of lovey-dovey stuff going on. And then you get to the racing scenes. Now, the whole point is that they have about 6 or so races left, and they need at least one time for them to get number one. Otherwise, Javier Bardem will lose. Something to do with the deal will lose his team, will lose what he has, will lose everything. And Brad Pitt wants to help out his friend. When the racing scenes happen, they're very fast paced. They're get you exhilarated. They really feel like you're in there with the racers. It's edited to a point where I'm not confused. I'm not. I mean, yes, because of the way the cars look. Sometimes I'm like, okay, who's that and who's that? It's just the way that the cars are. But it wasn't discombobulating. It wasn't like shaky cam where I just confused and shit. So I think they did a good job with that. One of the things Brad Pitt starts doing is he starts being very unsafe. So he'll be like pushing other people, rocking other people, and that way to make him seem unsafe out there. So they'll be paying attention to me, but they won't be paying attention to the other guy. Or in one race, he makes it so that so many safety cars come out that if you stay on the road, you'll get further and further up. Granted, there are multiple times that seems as if Brad Pitt's character would have just been completely exiled from this organization of a whole, completely suspended. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're done. You're never going to race again. Get the fuck out. It seems like there's multiple times that would or could or should have happened. But it's a movie and it is what it is. But like I said, I did feel the running time. I don't think it needed to be 2.5 hours long. That's just me. It did have an after something during the credits, but I honestly forgot what the fuck it was, to be honest. Do I think this film needed the romance between Brad Pitt and the girl that built the cars? No. I'm sure it was doing that to try to, because hey, Top Gun Maverick had Tom Cruise with Jennifer, and which I thought was a weak romance in that, because I thought the stuff at Top Gun was better, the first one. Yes, I do think the first Top Gun is better than the second one. I do. I know a lot of people feel Top Gun Maverick is better. No, I actually do feel like the first Top Gun is a better movie. It has a better tone. I thought the romance worked better. The romance felt more in lead with the movie. The romance felt out of place in the second film. Yeah, with the technology, the flying scenes are more intense. But that's not really fair to say, because 1986, there was no way you could film scenes like that. But I think the overall tone, the music, the sound, granted, I think Iron Eagle is better than all of them, the first Iron Eagle. But if I'm picked, Top Gun Maverick, I don't hate, but I like the first one more. And I would say I like this more than Top Gun Maverick. I would say that I like this more than Top Gun Maverick, because this one, even though I was complaining about the romance, this I still bought more than the romance in Top Gun Maverick. Because I thought both actors did have a decent rapport. It's just like, I just don't think every one of these films needs a fucking romance angle in it. Sometimes there's no time for love, Dr. Jones. So it wasn't awful or anything, but I'm like, was it really needed here? I don't think so. I think he had enough with dealing with the rookie and the bits with him and Javier Bardem, and having to get them to where they need to be in order to succeed by the end of the film. I'm trying to see. Okay, I was just seeing So during the mid credits is him racing off road because it sets up him doing another race in the Baja over the road racing. Which I know there's talks of maybe doing a sequel, because this film did do well at the box office. Which is nice, because it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's not a comic book movie. So it's something on its own that did well, so that's nice to see. And I mean, it's a good film. Like, it's a well-made film, visually, technically. Hans Zimmer, it was cool to have him come back to do another racing film. And I thought the music was good. Granted, I don't think it captures the lightning in the bottle that his score for Days of Thunder. Like, his score for Days of Thunder is fantastic. But this is good. It's a good score. But I just, if you're making me compare it to like Days of Thunder, I would say I like Days of Thunder more as a movie and the score more. I would say as a movie because I just think the pacing is a bit faster. But it's a very visually, technically good looking movie. Hans Zimmer does a good job in the score. Spoilers, some stuff come up, whether it be there's a point he's helping up the rookie, but he doesn't listen, and he decides to go for it, he gets in the big crash, and then stupidly blames Brad Pitt, and even the mom blames Brad Pitt. Now, granted, thankfully, the guy admits later. But it's not like the mom goes to apologize to Brad Pitt. So, nice example you set for your son. It's your fault, motherfucker. She doesn't say motherfucker, but then when the kid's like, well, it is my fault. You don't want to apologize? Okay, well, again, nice example you have for your son. No wonder your son's fucked up, because you're fucked up. Miss Josh, whatever the fuck her last name was. If that's the way you are, no wonder your son's a cocky son bitch. Because you're a bitch. Anyway. Fat bitch. Anyway. Hey, I'll be mean to her because she was mean to Brad Pitt and didn't deserve it. So, to be honest, I didn't care about that mom character. I didn't give a shit about her. Same with, like, he's got this buddy who's like, hey, we don't go and do this, gotta do that. I'm like, I didn't give a shit about him. Which he did kind of remind me of, I think it was Robert Sean Leonard in Driven. They're trying to get the lead to go, get the younger guy to go do these things and press conferences and stuff. But I didn't care about that character. I didn't care about the mom. I was just indifferent to them, or I'm like, whatever. I just don't think they brought a whole lot to the table. But yeah, that stuff happens, and then the rookie tries to train himself to get better. Then as soon as he comes back, he purposely wrecks Brad Pitt's car, and then Brad Pitt gets pissed at him and says, oh, you don't do something stupid like that? Well, that guy backed you, and you don't want to screw him over. I'm not going to let you do it. Then there's a point where the lady who made the cars, someone goes after her saying, oh, well, you put all this stuff on the cars, but that's, I don't know if they put it illegal. Like, it's not supposed to be on there, so you're in trouble. But then, I don't know if you needed all that. I think sometimes, like, they try to put a bit more subplot stuff that's needed. Like the whole thing with the lady, again, with the love story with Brad Pitt, or, oh, you put stuff on this car that you shouldn't have. But then, pretty kind of nonchalant ways to, oh no, it's actually fine now. I'm like, well, then why the fuck do we even do this in the first place? Again, sometimes simplifying is not the wrong answer. You have the guy, and you have the veteran, you have the rookie. Going head to head. Brad Pitt, his physical injuries catching up to him and trying to ignore it, and then Javier Bardem, you to have him noticing more and more The cocky guy realizing he needs to eat a piece of humble pie. Brad Pitt, knowing that he's not going to be here forever. Javier Bardem noticing, making a choice. I don't want you to do this because you didn't tell me about this. This is a point where Brad Pitt gets pissed about what's going on with the lady being in trouble for putting parts she wasn't supposed to on the cars and all this other stuff. When he's driving, he in a rage and he crashes and he's in the hospital, and Javier Bardem goes, "You didn't tell me about this. You had these injuries from back to the day. Why didn't you tell me? How do you think I feel if you die on the track?" And you can tell that, deep down it's because he doesn't want his friend to die. But you can even get more into that, where he starts noticing certain things, and Javier Bardem notices more and more, and then I think that scene could have been even more emotional, even more impactful between the two. I think at times Brad Pitt plays that scene a little bit too cool for school. I think that could have been a bit where Javier Bardem gets more and more emotional, and then that makes Brad Pitt a little bit more losing her cool and emotional. Lash out a bit. Just very rarely does the character do that in the film. But that'd be a point to do it in. It's just sometimes it's just a little bit too much stuff to try to put in to reach this 2.5 hour running time that I don't think it needed to have. Because then eventually, oh no, actually, we looked into it. Those parts are fine. They're going back on the car. This girl who made the car, she's fine. It's all good. Okay, well, then the whole thing didn't fucking matter, did it? You could have taken that out of the movie and wouldn't really done a whole lot of other shit. Just waste fucking time. The end of the film, I didn't mind. They do the big race. Spoilers. Brad Pitt does something to help Joshua win, but Joshua and the other guy, they crash, and then Brad Pitt goes to the front. And I like the bit where it's him focused, and we see mostly his point of view of going around these turns, and more. I think this is where the music really could have elevated this. Because I think like the music in Days of Thunder, when you watch that film again, whenever you do Days of Thunder, the last scene, victory lap, when Tom Cruise, Robert Duvall, they're talking and they're ready to run, and you have that music, do new new. Do 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 new new. And you have like a quieter version of something like that that really builds up. And the music is fine, but I think a little bit more could have been done with it. But I do like the look of it, of him focusing and kind of realizing this may be a dream come true. And eventually does. So yes, Brad Pitt does win. Which I was actually kind of surprised by. Because I thought they'd go with the typical, the younger guy wins, and the older guy loses, but he achieves something. But no, they actually let Brad Pitt win, so I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I did not expect that. Granted, there's only one or two ways it would happen, but, that was cool to see. He succeeds. Everyone is victorious and happy. They say their goodbyes. He's off. And then the last bit is him going to do this Baja over the road stuff. So, off the road stuff, I should say. So I do like the film. I do think it is technically well-made movie. It's a well-acted movie. Brad Pitt, solid actor. Always liked him. The racy scenes are very good. Again, I say predictable in the fact that, again, there's only one or two ways it's going to end, so. You've seen this type of film multiple times before. I don't think it does really anything too new that you haven't seen done before. I wouldn't say it's this amazing movie that some people made it out to be, but do I think it's a good film? Yes, I do think it's a good film. And I would say something about it. It did make me like it more than Top Gun Maverick, but I would still put Days of Thunder above this. It's a much, like I said, much better version of Driven. I would say that. I know I read up somewhere that there's a thought of if they do a sequel, maybe tying it into Days of Thunder. So it'd be like Brad Pitt's character and then Tom Cruise's character. Because I know Tom Cruise at one point wanted to do a Days of Thunder sequel. I mean, does this film need to be a franchise though? I don't know. I don't know if this needs to be a franchise. It's a good movie. I just don't know if it's a franchisable thing. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if it's done well, it's done well. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was a pretty good film. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye for now.